Agent Romanoff. You miss me?
Oh yeah, Charles, we got ourselves an X-Men fan.
Captain.
Your Highness.
Jackman, big fan, Spider-Man. Hey everyone.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we get started here, make sure to follow us on Instagram. We got some more Marvel-related posts over on there. And today we're going to be talking about a recent update involving the casting of our favorite ultra-violent Canadian character, Wolverine. That's right, it's one Wolverine, followed by Deadpool, followed by the Trailer Park Boys, in that order. News has come out recently that Disney is set to acquire Fox, and Kevin Feige is now on the prowl for a new Wolverine to replace Hugh Jackman. And this means a couple of things. Firstly, the X-Men are likely going to see a full integration into the MCU. And secondly, they got a really tough decision to make at Marvel, creatively speaking. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're familiar with Hugh Jackman's portrayal of Wolverine, then you're aware that he's kind of an introspective character in the movies. He spends a lot of time analyzing the decisions that he has made, and he often looks at these decisions and at himself with regret or frustration and remorse. This is sort of the edge of the movie version's intellectual breadth. The version in the comics is a lot more, I would say, intellectual about the kinds of things you would want somebody like him to be smart about. The character in the comics is more combatively gifted. He's also more fluent in a wider variety of languages as a result of being alive for over 100 years and traveling the world most of that time, as opposed to Hugh Jackman's version, which relies heavily on his healing factor, the indestructibility of his skeleton, and his strength to get out of any and all situations. The two characters are also physically different. Hugh Jackman is 6'2", and Wolverine in the comics is 5'3". And don't get me started on costume differences. It might as well have been night and day. The fact that Hugh Jackman pulled the role off with such a physical disparity and succeeded should qualify as some kind of crime. It'd be like casting me as Juggernaut. Do I look like I hit the gym? Look at this little guy right here. It's like a mosquito bit my bicep. It's pretty undeniable that this is a super important casting decision for Marvel to make because Wolverine sells tickets. Undeniably, that's why he had his own movies of varying qualities. Jackman was so fun to watch as Wolverine because he really owned the character. It was his. He never dropped character on screen, and as a result, my immersion was never killed while watching an X-Men movie if he was on screen. These two characters being so different, the movie version and the comic book version, leads us to an interesting question, and that is whether Marvel will attempt to replicate Hugh Jackman's success, or whether they're going to take the version from the comics and attempt to adapt him to the silver screen. Well, we're here today to go over some options that Kevin Feige has in the nearly impossible task of recasting Wolverine. Let me get this one out of the way. No, Daniel Radcliffe hasn't been approached by Marvel to play Wolverine in the MCU. It was a joke. I've been seeing this everywhere. And yeah, I know he's a good actor. He's the right size. He could gain a few pounds, muscularly speaking. And I know if you paste Wolverine's sideburns onto Daniel Radcliffe, maybe it might work. But honestly, I think that Daniel Radcliffe's portrayal of Harry Potter has almost hurt his career in the long run. Not his legacy, but like his ability to nab other roles in movies. Big budget blockbuster movies specifically. Nothing against him as an actor, but he spent so long playing Harry Potter that I struggle seeing him in other movies. The Woman in Black felt like a Harry Potter Exorcist crossover fanfiction, and that Broadway play he did felt like Harry Potter taking out his adolescent aggression on horses. One thing I don't like is watching a movie of any kind and getting caught up in who the actor is as opposed to who the actor is playing. And yeah, you could technically blame me for doing this with Daniel Radcliffe specifically, but I'm not the only person out there. I really think that it's kind of a generational thing that he's probably going to have to deal with. I would have been distracted by Anthony Hopkins as Odin if he wasn't so heavily altered. With the eye missing and the heavy armor and all that stuff on Anthony Hopkins, it was easier to just kind of forget that it was Anthony Hopkins. The only other thing that I see is that he would really need to transform his voice, not just to a Canadian accent, but to a more grizzled, Canadian kind of mean voice. Basically what Hugh Jackman did when he was playing Wolverine. The last thing I want to see is Wolverine walk up and have like the most nice sounding British accent ever. So maybe throw the yellow and blue jumpsuit on Daniel Radcliffe, give it a shot. We'll have to see if that works. Let's move on to two picks of mine that are unlikely but interesting, and that is Tom Hardy and Joel Kinnaman. Both of them have experience in superhero movies, the former having better success than the latter for sure, but they each represent a version of Wolverine that I mentioned earlier. Joel Kinnaman is the same height as Hugh Jackman, and after seeing him in House of Cards, I fully believe he would be able to pull off a more mean-spirited character like Wolverine. He certainly seemed aggressive enough to me. He is, however, slated to return in the second Suicide Squad movie, so chances are you're not gonna see him play Wolverine. On the other hand, Tom Hardy would be such a good pick to play a comic book version of Wolverine. Yellow and blue suit? Maybe. I don't know if they're ever gonna actually use that. But let's talk about Tom Hardy's career really quick. The reason why I don't find it horribly likely is because he's already played Bane in the Nolan-verse Batman movies, and he played Venom in Sony's own currently separated Marvel movies. But look at the guy. He's 5'9", and sure, that's technically still too tall for the character of Wolverine, but they wouldn't have to do any camera angles to adjust his height because, I mean, he's already too tall. It wouldn't be a Bane situation. He's capable of being ripped out of his mind. Have you seen The Dark Knight Rises or Bronson? Whew, ridiculous. He starred in some of the most massive box office action flicks of this generation, and some critically acclaimed ones too. His voice work is amazing from movie to movie. And let's not forget that 20th Century Fox already considered him to possibly play a younger version of Wolverine in their X-Men movies. Unlikely? Yes. Amazing choice? Hell yes. Next on our list is none other than Kit Harington, known for his portrayal of Jon Snow in HBO's Game of Thrones. Does he have the look? I personally think so. He's 5'8", so he's the shortest person on this list other than Daniel Radcliffe, who really isn't on the list. He's just there because he cracked a joke. He's 5'8", he has dark hair, and his name is thrown around a ton. Like a ton. When talking about Wolverine replacements. However, I haven't actually seen enough of him yet. Sure, there's a lot to pull from in Game of Thrones, but regarding other work that maybe is a bit more similar to Wolverine's character, I haven't seen a lot. I think he could pull off the voice pretty easily. I just haven't seen him in an action flick that is like a superhero movie yet, and that doesn't mean that he shouldn't be in it. You know, don't knock him till you try him. But he's not the strongest pick on this list, I don't think. Wolverine's persona is chock full of, abrasion. And that kind of abrasion is often attributed to a certain kind of person, logger, fisherman. Biker gang? Biker gang. This leads us to Charlie Hunnam, who played Jax Teller in Sons of Anarchy. While he is far more dissimilar to Wolverine's physique as opposed to somebody like Kit Harington or Tom Hardy, I think he could pretty easily pull off the character, because Hugh Jackman basically proved that it's more important to capture the rough interior personality of Wolverine than it is to capture his physique. And we've seen him in Sons of Anarchy. He's an abrasive guy. Well, he's not abrasive, he acts abrasive. And that's what we're looking for.
His name's Abel.
It's a good name.
Dye that blonde hair black, get him a Canadian accent coach, and bada bing, bada boom, you got yourself a Wolverine. And then one name that I haven't seen mentioned pretty much anywhere that I think deserves more attention is Logan Marshall Green. He was the star of Upgrade, which was one of the most overlooked and one of the best action movies of 2018. And he did technically appear in the MCU already as Shocker in Spider-Man Homecoming. Does that make him hard to cast as Wolverine? Maybe, but I just think it'd be kind of funny, to be honest with you. Who gives a shit about Shocker? He is often seen by audiences as kind of a Tom Hardy doppelganger, but I think that his performance in Upgrade kind of sets himself apart. I think that his performance in that movie showed that he has some pretty great acting chops, especially for something like the MCU, which is a more lighthearted kind of action movie, you know, when Thanos isn't doing the... And that's kind of what Upgrade was. Upgrade didn't feel like a hyper-serious movie. It had some funny parts in it. And I would compare the humor to a lot of what the MCU's humor feels like. Similarly to Kit Harington, I haven't seen Green in a whole lot to compare him to somebody like Hugh Jackman or to Wolverine as a character. But he is a solid action actor nonetheless, and I just think that his name should get thrown around more in these kinds of conversations. Alternatively, we could just get an actual Wolverine. Small. fierce, adorable, and angry. On second thought, scrap everybody else I just mentioned. This guy should be getting the job. Is there some non-Wolverine noob you'd like to see play Logan in the MCU? Let us know in the comments down below. This is Adam from Film Artsy, and I'll see you next time.
At gmail.com, or you guys can click the link in the description. We really want to see what kind of talent you guys can provide. So let us know, send us an email, and we'll check out your videos, and we'll see you all in the next video.
Talking?
I'm about to.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Hi.
See you guys.